All right, welcome back, everyone. See what happens when Joel comes late. I don't know. He's not on screen. Do you guys see him?
No, he vanished.
Nope.
Hold on here. Well, I don't. What'd you? Hold on. There's two of Joel here.
What?
How is that even possible?
I don't. This is what happens when you come on time. See, I don't know what is going on. You. Uh,
There we go.
All right, there we go.
There
All right. As you can see, I got everyone. I want to thank the McCune family for sending this Bucky's Aloha shirt. So it's pretty awesome. So everyone knows I love Bucky's. So definitely rocking it today. But yeah, we got my normal Wednesday guest. Wednesday host with me, Joel Curtis, and we got Hunter Gore on. It's been a while. Hunter's been a long time in the school community. Seems like he has some maybe new information on what he's working on. And so, Hunter, quickly share your story, what you're working on, and we'll dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, thanks so much for having me. It's good to be on to talk with you guys, Curtis, Joel as well. So looking forward to our conversation. So my background started out as a residential agent. Had somebody by the name of Chad Carson, who used to play pickup basketball with back in the day, told me, "Hey, you should get your real estate license and roll some of your commissions on into investment properties." And to make a very long story short, that's what I did. Been on the agent side about 8 years now, investing in real estate about 5 years, and for the last probably 2 years, I have been doing land home packages, which we're going to talk about today. So super excited for that. My business partner and I are, really rocking and rolling with those. Recently, a licensed dealer, so trying to really kind of ramp up that side of it as well. So excited to talk with you guys and answer some questions on the process.
All right, I wanted to put there is Hunter's YouTube channel. So if you want to check out more things from him, definitely jump over there, subscribe. I'll put in Curtis and Joel's channels also. They're also streaming live right now. But quickly, before we dig into it too, I don't know if people noticed last week, but Curtis, or they probably did notice, but we didn't touch on it much. But your hair is gone, right?
Yes, yes. I tell people I got a new wig, and so yes, I did the big chop.
All right. See a lot of people tuning in. So everyone is excited for this one. I know Joel, you also are planning something possibly with Hunter, right? Coming up maybe next month or so.
Yeah. Gonna do a content event, get some interviews in down in Charlotte, Greenville area. Still lots of details to figure out, but it's on the docket.
Nice. And then will the interview be released next year, or when do you think it'll actually come out?
I mean, probably 2029. I think. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, so I did notice I saw Jacob Bridging Tenants part of his interview that you did in LA come out recently, so definitely go check that one out. But yeah, Hunter, quickly tell us. I mean, like I said, I know you've been talking about it, working on these land packages for a while, but you kind of just posted something in school. That's why, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the recent school post was that we are now licensed mobile home dealers in the state of South Carolina. So it's been a heck of a process, almost a year to kind of work start to finish. There's a lot of requirements. Won't bore everybody with that. But we got our dealer's license in order to help us save cost when my partner and I are doing our own projects, and also to really kind of help the overall affordability issue in helping other folks be able to purchase homes directly from us on the investor side. So to kind of give people a little bit of background, a lot of people probably don't know what a land home package is, so I'll kind of set the stage for us. A land home package is, very simply put, a piece of land that has a brand new construction manufactured house. In my neck of the woods, we think of those as mobile homes. So this is a brand new double wide mobile home on some land that we then are able to sell. Typically, most of our buyers are first time buyers, but it's a very affordable price point for our market and for most markets that these products are done in across the country, across the Southeast. So that is, really the whole basis of what we're doing. We're trying to create affordable housing, help people get into a quality product for a lot cheaper than they could with, let's say, new construction stick built. And again, really just trying to meet the need and the demand there for affordable housing on the ownership side, not just, the landlord side, the renter side. We want people to be homeowners. And so this is a great path to home ownership.
All right. Well, whoever smiles first, the also says gets her free T-shirt. Nah. But quick before any more question, or Curtis got anything looks like. But Joel, these type of products or properties, is there lending for it? Since you are a lender, is there anything financing out there available for these?
Well, I don't know the price point. There's a lot of details that go into the mobile homes and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's typical financing, FHA or conventional, for manufactured and mobile homes. But I mean, what are you seeing, Hunter? What are people getting to finance this?
Yeah. So all of our products are FHA, VA, USDA compatible. So everything that we do is set up on a permanent foundation. They are detitled mobile homes, so they are considered real property. So you can get financing just like any typical house that you could otherwise that's stick built. So we wanted to create a product that, again, most of our buyers are typically first-time home buyers, so a lot of them go FHA. We just sold one recently with the USDA loan, which was great. We've sold one for cash as well. Somebody just said, "Hey, we've got some cash, and this is the lowest price point for new construction in the area." To kind of give some people perspective, in my market, the average stick-built new construction price on a single-family home typically ranges between $330 to $350 starting out. That's kind of like the base price. Sometimes you can get a little more or a little less, kind of depending upon how rough of an area you might be in. But generally speaking, we're $330 to $350 for new construction stick built. For a new construction manufactured house on land, we're typically selling these anywhere between $200 and about $240, with our average price point being about $215 to $225. So depending upon the area, we're either $100,000 to $150,000 cheaper than the average starting price for new construction stick built. So it's a really affordable product, in my opinion, comparatively. Most people who buy a product from us in particular, we're doing half acre to acre plus lot sizes. So you're going to get some land to go with it. You're not going to be on a quarter acre or smaller postage stamp lot on a mass graded subdivision. These are infill lots and in areas that people need a quality affordable housing. So that's kind of what we're looking for on a resale price. So if somebody has cash and they want to pay $200, $210 for something, we're a great option in the marketplace.
How does that compare to like a starter home in your area?
Yeah, the average like resale starter home, could be a 1960s or 80s house or something. It kind of depends on condition and area, but I would say our prices are very comparable to the average price point of a resale house in the area. Normally, if you find a house cheaper than ours on the resale side, a lot of times they need work. I have seen a couple where they're turnkey, and so you can certainly find them. But generally speaking, if you're trying to compare the size of acreage that you would get with one of our products with the quality of our product, you're going to be significantly more expensive to go buy that elsewhere compared to what people like us who are doing in our market. So again, it's a great option for people. It's even a good option for the investors as well, because if you want to do what I do, you can, make money, as a builder per se, or if you wanted to be on the landlord side, you can buy these and, set them up, and you got a pretty good cost, and you can rent the typical house out that we do. And I'll even throw this into our chat, Mark, if you want to be able to share this link. I can even share my screen if that's helpful. But we just finished out and closed out a project. This was about this time last month.
All right, yeah, we'll share your screen. Just want to say, Frank is saying it's time to swap out some of our mugs, I believe. So I'll just quickly show. So if you guys haven't, jump over to Frank's merchandise store, and we'll just throw some of these on. He has a Living the Dream, one rental at a time. He has the one rental at a time ORAT white mug, and he also has the travel mugs too now. So these should be shipping out. Some people won prizes last week, Wednesday. Curtis helped me with the Vanna Black. Definitely helped me spin the wheel. But people won T-shirts. Curtis, you have that shirt you were showing, right?
Yeah, yep.
So definitely, yep. People pick up your new merchandise. So wait. So what did you put? What is that? That's the.
So I shared a link on Zillow to our most recent project. So Mark, if you feel free to throw that into the chat so people can be able to see that. I'll share my screen as well if that's okay, just to just to kind of give people an idea. Let me know when you can see this.
Yep.
Let me put you on the screen here, though. There you go.
All right. So this project in Liberty, South Carolina, which is a smaller town outside of Greenville, our kind of upstate South Carolina MSA, we sold this one for $225,000. If you look at the pictures, you're not going to necessarily think that this is a crappy mobile home. This is a very nice mobile home, manufactured house. It's got upgraded rise features, which is some of the board and batten on the outside. You've got nice brick skirting on the outside base. We stage all of ours with real furniture. There's a lot of people that do virtual staging, but we stage ours with real furniture. In my opinion, it shows very well. You've got stainless steel appliances. You've got room in the front and the back of this house. As you can see, this one is almost 1,700 square feet. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with plenty of space. Again, this one sold for $225,000. So it's a quality product for what somebody can buy for the size and the square footage in the marketplace. So just to kind of give folks an idea of what they look like on the inside.
What size lot did this come with?
So this lot in particular was, I think it was 3/4 of an acre. It might have been a little smaller than that. Somebody can feel free to look it up and quote me, but I think it was a little under 3/4 of an acre.
Just quick, sorry. Does Curtis's audio sound weird to you guys, or is it just me?
He's a little muffled.
Yeah, Kurt. I think when you touched your shirt, maybe your mic, you were coming in muffled. That's why. Yeah. There was a couple of questions real quick. Where was it? What brand are you selling?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So we sell a number of different brands from the dealership side. On the land home package side, we've stuck to a couple of brands, in particular Cavco, CAVCO. So Cavco, that is the main dealer the main manufacturer that we work with. So we are a big fan of Cavco. I think they put a quality product out for the price point that you can purchase it at on the dealer side. We also like Clayton as well. There's a couple of good models, Clayton Dawn, that does well. So it kind of depends. Each project we sit down and evaluate, what are some comparable sales for homes in the area? What do those properties look like? Do we need to upgrade? So in this one, we do not have sheetrock, or did not, I should say, but we can also purchase the homes with sheetrock. This same floor plan, you can add a 4th bedroom that would actually, technically, if you can see where my mouse is, that would go kind of on the back side of this living room where the windows start to go. And you could very simply add in a 4th bedroom on this floor plan. It's a couple $100 more, but you can add in an additional bedroom on this model. So we like some of the easier to use manufacturers and models because they can be very interchangeable. We can get the same model in, I think, 4 or 5 different colors, with different shutter colors as well. You can add in this board and batten on the front, the white part. You can take that off, and you can just have the normal siding going all the way across. So you can really kind of make the one floor plan look very different across multiple lots, even if you had them in the same area.
So Val was the one that asked, "What brand are you selling?" And I know Val is in North Carolina, and I'll be meeting up with him on September 13th for the Bears whooping the Panthers. But so, are you able to provide this to like North Carolina also, or other areas, or is it strictly South Carolina?
Yeah, so we are only licensed in South Carolina at this point. If people want homes in other states, we can connect them with dealers who are licensed in those states, able to help them out. But right now, we're just in South Carolina. We may expand here in the near future, but right now we're just in South Carolina.
What is the time? And hopefully my sound is good now. But what is the time frame from when you purchase the land to when it's actually good? Like you can show it, and it's uh,
Sure. Every lot is a little different. It's hard to give you an exact time frame. I will tell you, we shoot for 100 days from the time that we go under contract on the lot to being able to purchase it and having that home on the market. So it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes we're delayed a little bit. One of our so we've got four projects going right now. One of them we hit rock when we were digging out the pad site. So that set us back a little bit of time and money there to kind of do that. Sometimes you try to line up when these homes are going to be delivered, and there might be a delay with the factory. It's normally not a long delay, but typically we're kind of right about that 100-day mark is what we shoot for. And what we see on our side, we want to price our homes very competitively. Both my business partner and myself are both licensed agents here in South Carolina. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. So we understand what comparable sales look like. We understand how to price competitively for this market. And so, there are folks who I've seen take the same product of a house, and they will put it for 275 or 300,000 in this market, same market that I'm selling in. And I'm not saying somebody may not come along and purchase that, but generally speaking, I don't think it's good to overprice inventory, whether it's new construction or resale. So we always try to accurately price, and because of that, we typically get our homes under contract in about a week to week and a half is our average. The one that I just showed, we put it live on the market on a Friday, and we had it under contract by Sunday afternoon. So it can move very quickly if you price it appropriately.
I just want to say Charles McCune's tuning in. I want to, like I said earlier, thank you, Charles and Carrie, for sending me this Bucky's Aloha shirt. So rocking it today. I think you answered Val's question. I think he already asked what brand of MH home are you selling. But Troy is at Hunter. Can you educate viewers on lenders that specialize in manufactured homes? I had a loan with 21st Century that is Warren Buffett's company.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the way that you are trying to acquire your properties, your mobile homes, and what your end game is with some of these. So what Troy is referring to are loans that typically are made on the chattel only for the trailer itself. So that's somebody who is going to typically pay for the land either in a separate loan or in cash. They typically will pay for the setup cost in cash as well. And then there are lenders out there like 21st, Vanderbilt as well, who will lend on the mobile homes. What I will tell you is that from the investor standpoint, I have not had the best of luck getting deals pushed through or getting decent terms. They typically are really only lending to people who are going to occupy and live in those mobile homes. Those mobile homes as well, when you finance with those companies, are typically not set on a permanent foundation. They're not tied down. They're not detitled. So those are typically loans I see people getting on mobile homes who are going to park it on some land where they're paying lot rent. Maybe it's in a mobile home park. But normally, if you're going to do one of these land home packages, you can get those financed by private or hard money lenders. So typically that is my route to get those financed. So for our operation, we almost exclusively use private lenders. Normally we are using what I call, civilians, people who are not active in the real estate space in the industry. We are able to structure out deals and returns that are great for them and great for us. And we put private lenders on our projects. You can also do the same thing with hard money. So, I'm trying to think of a, big hard money lender. Joel, you probably have more, more experience on the hard money stuff, dealing with those guys. But if you can get a hard money lender, they'll lend you. A lot of times they'll lend you most of the cost of the land, and they'll lend you all of the setup costs, which would include purchasing the house. So it's, it can be a decent little deal for both the borrower and for the hard money lender as well.
Right.
So
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, so it sounds like you're in as the investor that you use other people's funds to kind of make this happen, and then on the exit, the incoming buyer can really use any type of loan if the home is tied down and has a foundation.
Yep, exactly right. So when we do it, again, it's typically private or hard money. When the buyer is purchasing, they're typically, getting a FHA, VA, maybe a USDA, sometimes a conventional, but typically it's that product that's going to suit them as a first-time buyer or somebody who's purchasing these types of properties.
Joel, you got anything? If not, I'm gonna ask Cody Evers' question here. Yeah. So Cody, so maybe I missed it. What's your strategy for buying land? What price range and acreage do you target?
Yeah, so that's a really fantastic question. When we started this business model, we realized that there are basically two variables in the whole thing. The first variable is your overall sales price. What can I sell this at the end of it? And the second variable is what am I going to pay for the land? Everything else in between, you do have some rising costs. We've seen some costs rise since the beginning of this year, but generally speaking, I'm not going to, on one deal, I'm not going to have a $6,000 septic, and on the next deal, a $30,000 septic. Typically, as long as I'm getting a conventional system, my septic is $6,500 to $7,500 across the board. So I can kind of factor in those costs. But if I can only sell a house for $200,000, well, that might change what I could pay for the land or how much profit I might be able to make in a deal. Versus if I can sell that property for 225, maybe even 250,000, those numbers are going to they're going to drastically change the profit numbers as well as what you can realistically pay for land. So that's kind of a little of our strategy there. Going back to the acreage, we're typically targeting at least a half acre because that's normally going to allow a conventional septic, anywhere up to about an acre or maybe an acre and a half. Once you start getting closer to an acre and a half, we're trying to subdivide those lots into smaller parcels so that we can really maximize the land value there out of the deal. As far as the strategy, it's been a bit all over the place. Everybody's market is different, so I'm not sure what market you're in or what strategies you might be able to use. But typically, we are trying to acquire properties that come from both on and off market sources. So again, my partner and I both are agents. We have access to the MLS. We can find pieces of land that are actively listed. We also work with wholesalers who are constantly trying to find land deals and bring those to us. And then we also have our own kind of outbound direct to seller type strategies, trying to get in touch with owners of land, things like call, text, postcard, you name it. Different ways to try to get in touch with folks who own properties that we could potentially purchase from them. So lots of different ways to do it. But, it's probably going to be more dependent upon your market and, what the demand for land is like.
You guys got anything? If not, I'm gonna. Ike is saying, sorry, late to the party. Maybe you said it, but he's curious what you're paying on hard money rates terms.
Yeah. This is probably also somewhat market dependent. In my area, most hard money lenders are going to charge anywhere from 12 to 14% and anywhere from 2 to 3 points. The most common we've seen is a 12 and 2 or sometimes a 12 and 3. So that's a 12% rate and 2 to 3 points. Points are typically paid up front. Interest normally is, going to be paid monthly typically. Sometimes you can find a lender who will let it accrue, which is really nice because, as you're trying to go handle payments for contractors and vendors, it's a lot from a cash flow management perspective to also have to manage making interest payments on, one loan, much less if you had 5 or 10 projects going on at the same time. So it can be a lot, but you end up building systems and processes around that.
Sorry, I actually skipped over Brady's earlier question. He was asking, so you just sell the homes? You're not keeping any as rentals?
Yeah. So our business model is to sell everything. The amount of profit that we could make on a per deal basis, typically, every deal is different, but I'll tell you, we try to pencil in anywhere from $25 to $30,000 in profit per deal. If I can't comfortably pencil 25 grand, we're not going to do the deal because inevitably prices change these on the materials and the vendors. The cost, or I'm sorry, the sales the sales price on the other side when we go to sell it is not going to jump up just because we had an extra $2,000 cost, in our process. So that being said, we have found that it is better to sell the properties for cash and build a cash flow or a cash injection business into our rental portfolios that now I can go, if I do 2 of these deals and I make 50 grand, great, I can now go buy something with my 50,000 instead of trying to convert them to rentals. Because normally lenders only like to lend up to about 75% on these deals. Sometimes some lenders are only at 70%. And I talked to a lender, this was probably 3 or 4 months ago. They would only lend up to 65% of the appraised value on the house to me as an investor. If I'm trying to do a cash out refi to get my lenders paid off, my hard money or my private money, a 30-year fixed rate product would only lend 65 to 70% of the ARV. So, for example, if my house is going to appraise at, let's just say it's 215 on a good day. If I'm getting 65%, I'm only getting 140,000 back, and my cost is typically more than that. I'm typically in 150 to 170 per project. Depends on the project, but that's general numbers. So if I try to get 75% out of a 215 valuation, I'm clearing about 160, which may be a break even. But then by the time you look at the refi cost, you're probably having to put a couple dollars into the deal just to get lenders paid back out. So people are more than welcome to do that as a strategy, if they want to do that for themselves. But I've just found for me and my business partner, it makes way more sense to sell the projects, build up cash, and now be able to go buy what we really want at a discount because we've got cash to go do that.
Okay. And kind of Cody Evers' point is, and how much is it costing you to subdivide the lot?
So again, I hate to say that everything is market dependent. We've got a really good land surveyor that we work with, and he charges a little under $1,000 to survey and help us cut up a parcel. That's normally taking like one property and cutting it into 2. I'm sure if we were trying to do like a 10-acre tract and cut it up into 10 lots, I'm sure he'd charge us more. But generally speaking, it's not that much money, and we just put that as a line item into the cost on our pro forma for every deal that we do.
And then the goal is to add another home on the now new lot. Is that the end goal?
Yep, exactly right. So let's say that we buy a 2-acre piece of property, and I'm going to subdivide that into 2 1-acre lots. So once I do that, let's say that I paid $30,000 for my 2 acres. Well, I can now go have, once I am able to spread out my cost basis on the land, I'm into each lot for $15,000 plus whatever my survey cost is. So let's say it's $1,000, so I'm in for $15,500 per lot. And now I can put the house on there, and I can, then go, do our stuff and go sell that. Typically, if we're going to buy an infill lot, just to kind of give viewers and folks at home understanding of what our numbers are like, we typically are paying anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 for a piece of land. That's still a little tough to find in my market. Everybody wants to charge more for their land nowadays, but typically we're trying to pay $20,000 to $30,000 per lot, because we don't necessarily care of the acreage. It doesn't matter to me if it's a 25,000 square foot lot or a 5 acre lot. I'm typically going to sell that house on the back end in a general price range. So adding acreage doesn't necessarily increase the sales price for me. So I look at things on a per lot basis, not on a number of acres basis, which is how other people, agents as well, kind of view and value property. But I've just got to look at it on a per lot basis.
So when you talk about using hard money to be able to acquire and then prepare to sell these, I mean, if you're buying a lot for $30K, you're not going to get a hard money for that. You're going to just pay cash and then get hard money for the actual structure.
Typically so, yep. So normally we're trying to pay cash for all of our land that we acquire, and then we're turning around and getting a first position hard money lender who's going to lend on the land. So we'll give them a first mortgage on the land. They will then, and normally they do it in a draw schedule. So they'll give us a draw for, let's say, $80,000 to go buy the house. And then as we start the setup process, let's just say it's another, 50 to 60,000, give or take, on the setup. They will then give us the money to pay our contractors. As the contractors do work, you send pictures, you get proof of doing stuff. Lenders good with it, they'll send you the money, you can pay your guys. So that's typically the process. There are some lenders who will lend up to like 50% of the land value if you wanted to go get some of your cash out. But it's, in my opinion, it's nice to own the land outright, because then you're not necessarily rushed to start a project because you've got a clock ticking on your interest. So if you own it in cash, you own it outright, you can wait 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, to be able to start those projects.
You mentioned the possibility or ability to get a loan as an investor, and if you were to do that, pull cash out, you're limited to 70% LTV or whatnot. Like I've never come across a lender that even does investment loans on manufactured properties. So like, was that hard to find, or where did you find that company?
Yeah. So Kiavi will do it. So that's probably the biggest one in the space. I found a smaller company that would do it. The smaller company was going to be at 70%. Kiavi is at 65%. They may have gone up to 70 as well, but typically they really want to protect their equity. And so, again, for me, like, I know my rental numbers on something like what I'm putting out there is not going to give me anywhere close to the return from a cash flow perspective that just selling the house and getting a chunk of cash would. So like, for example, if my house could rent for $2,000 after I, have my loan, principal and interest, taxes, insurance, I might net $200 or $300 a month. So let's just say I net $300 a month. Well, that $3,600 a year, it's not going to be as good of a return, because I probably had to put more cash into the deal just to get my lender paid off. Like, for example, if Kiavi is going to lend, on 215 valuation, if they're going to lend 65%, they're close to 140,000. I might have to bring 10 to 20K to the table just to get my lender paid off. My hard money lender. So sometimes it can work, but I don't think that's a great strategy for most folks. The strategy, in my opinion, on the investor side would be to create the affordable housing, sell it, because these things are selling quickly, and take that cash and then either repeat the process and scale, or pull that cash and go buy a rental property with that.
Is the limiting factor at this point, let's just say you had unlimited funds, is it just not enough land out there at the right price at this point, or what's the limiting factor right now to do more?
Yeah, we've been pretty blessed. We've got a decent bit of private capital behind us, ready to go into projects. Our constraints right now are twofold. First is land. It's very hard to find land at an affordable enough price that we know we're not going to break even or lose money on a deal. So finding the land is number one, but number two is capacity. Because right now, we've got a number of projects going on. It's hard to kind of scale from, let's say 5 or 10 a year up to doing 50 plus a year. Our goal, so we've done 5 or 6 this year. Our goal is to do 20 next year. And then in 2028, our goal is to break 50. So if we can do that, great. But that's a lot of work. At that point, you're hiring employees. You're building out a legitimate business. It's not just hey, I'm going to do one of these deals on the side. You've got a real machine there that you've got to keep feeding.
You may have touched on it earlier. I may have missed it, but I see it. They all kind of get tossed around together and lumped together. So maybe you can kind of clarify for the audience when you hear modular, manufactured, and mobile homes. Like, kind of, how would you explain the differences there?
Yeah, great question. So for modular and manufactured, those are both built off-site from wherever the end product is going. Typically, they're going to be built all exclusively in factories, and the manufactured a lot of times come in the halves already there. All that somebody's got to do is just take those two halves and put them together and assemble them. Normally, when most people think of mobile homes, it's the same thing as manufactured, really. So, normally for me, I'm thinking manufactured is a, nice double wide that we can then tie down. To me, a mobile home is a single or double wide that is not tied down on the land. So the mobile home might be a single or double wide in a trailer park that somebody can still attach their car or truck or whatever to pull that house out of that park and move it if they wanted to. So when we do the manufactured houses, we cut off the tongues, which is part of the process. Again, you set them and you tie them down, put them on a permanent foundation there with the footers, and then you put the brick skirting around, or you could use other types of skirting, but we found that brick looks the best and typically sells well. And then you're going to get that home detitled. So for us in South Carolina, we've got to go get a title at the DMV. You then have to retire that title. And then at that point, the only thing left is to go get an engineered certification to show, hey, this house has been put on the permanent foundation. Everything looks good from the engineering side. So you take that with your detitle paperwork, you can get it affixed to the real estate, and now it's ready to go. So to me, that's what I think of as a manufactured house, something that's set up on the permanent foundation. The mobile home is mobile. It's still got the tongue on it. It's still going. The modular house is going to be a little different. It's built in sections or walls and assembled, typically still on site, but it's going to come, in more chunks than the manufactured house will. Probably the easiest way to explain it.
Okay, and then let's see. Billy Jackson is asking, what are your costs and timeline there for utilities hookup, entitlement, permitting?
Yeah, so our entitlement or permitting we do before we close on the land. We don't want to buy a piece of land that we are not confident that we can get a mobile home on, whether that's due to covenants and restrictions or maybe county or municipality guidelines. As far as utility hookups, I kind of mentioned this earlier. Once the mobile home gets delivered on site, we typically are somewhere between 30 and 45 days to having that house listed on the market. So the process goes really quickly, like really, really quickly. Most people, when they build a stick-built house, they're 6 months, from the time that they're pouring the slab. For us, that's like 45 days and it's on the market. So there's kind of a big time gap disparity between the two models. So the hookups typically go in about 2 or 3 days to get that a perspective.
Yeah, because you were saying the whole process is about 100 days from the day they close on it, right?
That's typically trying to go under contract. So normally we have about a 25 to 30 day under contract period. So once we close on the land, we're looking at about 75 days. And out of that 75 days, typically we're trying to order the house. And right now the factories are a little backed up. There's been such demand for these things all over the country. A lot of factories are backed up. So we used to be able to, get a house in 2, maybe 3 weeks. We're now sitting about a month to 5 weeks. And they build those things pretty quickly. So we've got 2 that are getting delivered in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't even think they've started on the houses. So I mean, they're building the houses in days, not weeks in the factory. So it goes pretty quickly. There's a lot of people that are wanting those. So
I have a question for you, Hunter.
Go for it.
So people talk about the idea of there being a housing shortage or not having a shortage, and people, like, I think, differ in opinions. What's your take on housing shortage or not?
I would say that there is an affordability shortage. Um, I think there's a lot of housing out there, and the amount of at least in my markets that I'm studying. I'm in the Southeast, so I'm looking kind of regionally. A lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, like they're throwing up apartment complexes left and right. So there seems to be enough places for people to sleep at night in one way, shape, or form. But what I think we're missing in this country, across multiple different regions, is affordability. And not even necessarily affordability on the rental side, because you don't want to necessarily be in a Section 8, low income housing type complex. People want to own something. I think the American dream of home ownership is still there. I just think most people can't or don't think that they want to own that because, again, it goes back to affordability. So for the price point that we're selling these things at, most people's rent at wherever they're at would be the same or probably more than their mortgage payment that they're going to get for buying one of our houses. Doesn't always work out that way. Obviously, that's kind of interest rate dependent, and supply and demand dependent. But a lot of what we're doing is quality product that people who are paying 16 to 1800 a month to rent, they can come in, they can buy something that's new construction. So generally speaking, knock on wood, for most of our folks, they're not going to have a plethora of CapEx demands, on their budget over the next, year to 3 years that they're in there. It's, if you put a brand new HVAC, what are the odds that that thing breaks in 2 weeks? Probably low. So everything's new in those houses. So generally speaking, you're going to have low CapEx, low things to do. It's really just maintenance and, making sure that you can afford that payment.
Yeah, because the reason I was asking for the size a lot earlier is because I recently did a open house for the owner of my brokerage, and that same basic thing for us, we just did a price drop down to 410, and so in comparison to like the rent, because I know you said in your area the rent's about 16 to 1800. Is that about what the mortgage on this is too?
So the homes that I'm putting on these lots could probably go for closer to 2000 or maybe 2100 a month in rent if I just rented it out. So again, let's just say that somebody's got a $200,000 mortgage. It's at a 30-year mortgage. Let's just say it's at a 7% rate. Joel, you could probably tell me if that's accurate or maybe too high for first-time buyers.
That's good.
Good. Okay. So just principal and interest on a $200,000 mortgage, somebody's looking at $1,330 a month. Okay. I would say with taxes and insurance, you probably add another 200 a month, maybe 300, but probably 200 a month. So you're all in at between 1550 and 1650 a month. None of our houses have HOA, so you don't have to worry about HOA payment. Then at that point, you're really just worrying about utility payments. And, if somebody's got, one of these first-time homebuyer loans, there's probably a PMI payment in there. So let's just say you're 16 to 1700 a month on a payment, if you've got a $200,000 mortgage. So that, that would require somebody to put 15 grand down if they bought it at 215. So maybe that payment changes for, a little bit of a higher sales price. But generally speaking, the same exact product that we're putting at this price point, you could own it for cheaper than you could rent it.
Wow. So yeah, I think that's awesome, especially when you talk about the affordability issue that we're all seeing, right?
Yeah, and that's really where my heart is at, is helping folks get in to affordable real estate that they can get on the property ladder. Because I've been owning properties about five-ish years, maybe give or take, and I've seen the equity growth even in 5 years. And I felt like I started buying stuff at kind of more the peak of my markets, and so between principal pay down, that either you're doing as a homeowner for savings account or the market is doing through inflation and appreciation. People can get on the property ladder and they can turn a $200,000 investment in 30 years. It can be paid off and worth $500,000 or more just based on inflation, so it's a really great way for folks to help control their overall housing cost. And now they're not in the rental cycle of figuring out, hey, do I need to move in 6 months or a year? Can I re-up my lease? What's my property management company going to do? Are they going to jack up my rent for no reason? I don't know, but once you own the house, you don't have to worry about that.
From a business standpoint and running your agent business, does having a product to sell, having more inventory listings, has that helped your business overall in terms of just opportunities?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Joel. I probably should try to figure out what that looks like from a statistics perspective. It has, I guess, is probably the short answer, but I don't know that I've been like, hey, this is like been a dramatic change in my business, and from an upward trend. It's definitely helped because now you have more inventory, more people are calling your signs, things like that. So it definitely does help, but I probably have not doubled my business because of it, but it has been an improvement for sure.
Big Val asks, are yours built in Rockingham, North Carolina?
So the factory that we buy out of for Cavco is in Hamlet. I'm not sure what factory is in Rockingham. There's a number of different manufacturers. I mean, gosh, there's probably a dozen plus manufacturers that are more well known and in the Southeast. A lot of them are in North Carolina or in Georgia. Surprisingly, I think South Carolina actually just broke ground, or maybe they just opened up the very first manufactured home factory in the whole state just recently. So it's kind of cool.
Chris Webb had a question. He said, can you go over the pricing for the home again?
Yeah, Chris, I assume you're kind of talking about the purchase price of the home itself. That's going to depend on a lot of factors. The biggest thing is going to be freight cost and where it's going. So, for example, the factory in Hamlet, which is in North Carolina, I think is about an hour and a half east of Charlotte. Maybe I have that slightly wrong, but it's east of Charlotte. So for those guys to go travel down into South Carolina, they go down highway or interstate 85. I've got a property in Gaffney that we're working on right now, and I've got a property in Anderson. The cost difference between those two is about $1,500 to travel for a further distance. So in other words, I ordered the same house on the same day, two houses at the same time. The first one was $1,500 cheaper in Gaffney than the second one in Anderson, purely just based on location. So a lot of it is going to be dependent upon location. I would say for the most part, the houses that we are doing are going to range somewhere in the 78 to low 80s range. A lot of that has to do with the upgrades that we get. So we make sure that all of ours have stainless steel appliances. They have the really nice board and batten kind of white siding on the outside, and they've got a couple other upgrades on the interior. So we think that investing our money in a certain manufacturers and certain product lines are going to yield the highest returns for us on the sales side. So that kind of gives you a price range. They can certainly go up from there. You can get them cheaper if you want, but we've kind of found the best bang for our buck is certain floor plans between about a $75,000 and $85,000 price tag.
If land, let's just say you had a plot of land, right, and it was $25K more expensive, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna just pass that price on to the end buyer with a $25,000 higher price. In this market right now, do you think that would still sell?
No, I don't think you can do that in most markets, in my opinion. Like that's why this business is an interesting business, and right now, people like myself who are doing this are getting squeezed a little bit on the profits. The cost of everything has gone up. Freight went up. Like, for example, 6 months ago, before we went to war with Iran, homes were about $6,000 cheaper than what I'm paying today. So I pay about six grand more on the house in just 6 months. Part of that is freight. Part of that is the actual cost of materials itself. My septic cost went up about $700 on average. Because they use the oil and the petroleum to help make some of the septic tanks on the plastic side. So cost goes up there. And there's a lot of things that costs go up on. But generally speaking, I'm kind of thinking on the agent brain here. You can't sell a house for more than it's worth, or better phrased, more than a buyer is willing to pay. If I can see that mobile home or manufactured home buyers are paying, again, let's just say 215 on a sales price, I can't decide, hey, I'm going to charge, 230 or 240 on this just because I feel like my land is worth more. I can guarantee you that house is going to sit and not sell. So would I rather pay interest cost every month on a house that doesn't sell, or would I rather be realistic and sell it at what I think I can sell for? Get a buyer in there, close out the deal, make my profit, and move on to the next one. So that's kind of my mindset around it. If I could sell them for more, I would. Not that I'm trying to take advantage of people or overcharge, but we're going to sell for what the market demands.
So I have a question, question on school. You did answer it there, but other people may want to hear it. I won't put their name here, but they said, congratulations. You mentioned you got your license, but does your solutions work for infill lots where an existing house might exist and is creating a second or subsequent unit on the property in a suburban area?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The short answer is I don't really know. It's probably going to be extremely market and municipality dependent. I'm guessing that person's probably more on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and we don't have a lot of ADU type properties. I do know that these manufactured and modular like plants, they will make an ADU product. It looks like a tiny house, but they will make it. They're 700 to 800 square feet. They're already pre-made, and they will drop it off at your location. It's more like a modular, from my understanding. I've never done one of those, or been a party to somebody else purchasing one, but just from what I've seen in conversations, it looks more like a modular house. It's kind of built on a flat frame, I think, and then they just drop the frame directly onto your location. So normally when we do our manufactured houses, they're sitting 2-3 feet off the ground and tied down on footers. But I think the ADU product is just sitting flat on some wood or some beams, and then they just drop it there on the ground flat. So you could probably do it. I would guess your cost is probably going to be cheaper than trying to build it from the ground up, like as a stick built. So I'm guessing it's cheaper, but I don't know because I have not priced those out yet. And again, it's definitely going to be market dependent, based on permitting and things like that.
We had talked about it a bit earlier about the subdivision, but do you ever think about, or you and your partner think about doing like a BOGO type deal where when you split it, you sell one off and you keep one? Or what do you think? Because I know you also do like the rentals.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind selling off a piece of land, but I think because we have the ability to put these houses on here pretty quickly, and we've got lenders behind us ready to go with funds, it makes more sense to just purchase the lot, split it up into two, and do two of these land home packages at the same time. I will say the infill lots are getting harder and harder to find, partly because people like myself keep buying them and doing this, which is good. But land they don't make more of, obviously. So we will run out of it at some point, and sooner or later we're going to have to look at buying a large, let's say it's 20 or 30 acres, and parceling that up into 20 to 40 lots for mobile homes. So eventually we'll probably do that, but we have not run across a deal that we wanted to pull the trigger on yet.
James Hillis is coming from one of your guys' channels, but he's asking, what is the average income level of purchases?
I guess I'm not exactly sure the question. It sounds like you're probably asking income level for the buyer. I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So on our side, we list them on the MLS, and then typically another agent, buyer's agent, brings a buyer. We have had buyers call us direct on them, but it's more common that agents are going to be working with first-time home buyers, and those buyers need affordability. And because agents can't find anything, they see our houses or our price point level of houses, and they think, okay, this is a good option. Buyers look at it, buyers love it, buyer buys it, and everybody's happy. So we're not really privy to much of that. I would say somebody's got to be making a decent income to afford, a $200,000 plus mortgage. So, Joel, you probably speak more to that than I can.
The basic calculation as a minimum is you take the housing payment and then divide it by 0.45, and that's the minimum income that they should probably need to be making overall to be able to qualify. So I mean, let's say the payment's $1,600 divided by 0.45, that's 3,500 roughly. So 43K would be your minimum as a ballpark.
Which I feel like the average income has got to be at least that, if not more. So the average American can afford our houses, which is great.
I know you also mentioned in your post in school that these products, I think there's duplexes available too, right? So do you guys sell more of the single family type, or the duplexes sell well?
Yeah, we haven't had anybody buy a duplex through us, and we haven't done a duplex ourselves. But once we can find a piece of land that is suitable enough for a duplex, I'm 100% going to pull the trigger, because it's a really great model. So you can buy a single family home that is what we call shotgun style. So that means it's going on a very skinny, narrow lot, and the front door would be on what most people would think of would be the side of the house, and then it's just kind of running very, very long ways down the lot. The duplexes are set up the same way. They're shotgun style, and so one of the units on the left is a 3-2, and I think the unit on the right is a 2-1, or maybe it's a 2-2. But they're really nice. That all you got to do is just assemble it together, push it together on your lot, but everything's done for you, so it can really simplify and speed up your process if you're looking to build multiple units on the same lot and keep them as a rental. So if I did a duplex, that would be one where I would have no problem actually doing a refinance on that product, even if it's only 65 or 70% leveraged. I wouldn't mind bringing money to the table to do that, because if I can borrow, let's just say 100% of my funds in theory to do one of these, and when I go to refi, I've got to bring $5,000 to the table. That means I spent $5,000 and a couple months worth of work to get a duplex, which is, almost impossible to do anywhere else. You can't just go buy a new construction duplex for $5,000 down as an investor.
What was the cost to build? Because I know you went over like the single family cost, but is there that big of a price jump when you try to do the duplex build?
Yeah, so when you're buying those duplexes from the factory, it is a higher cost. Don't quote me on this, but I think I was looking about a 120 to 130 price when I looked at it last, but that's been a couple months. So it is more expensive, but you do get 2 units out of it. Now the beauty is, outside of your land cost, the setup process and the cost is effectively the same as a single family. So you can split the cost of that across 2 units instead of just one.
I see Hugo tuning in. Yeah, he throws out some maybe bad news for those of you that are trying to get monetized on YouTube. He does say, yeah, Joe, you got 6 months. I don't know if you saw that, Joe. Did you see the new requirements? Yeah, so they changed the watch hours. I think it's going to change on January 31st, 2027, I believe. It's going to go to 8,000 watch hours, if I'm correct, in a 365-day period.
They're like everything like jumped up by 2, like it all.
Yeah, so they're giving you time to get to a certain amount of watch hours by that point, and then I think it's changing. You're muted, Joe.
I said I'm not even close. It's a pipe dream.
You might have got, if you come on time, that's like extra time on your watch hours, right? So when you're late, it cuts into that. But I don't know. You guys got anything else? I do have a final thing I want to bring up, but you guys anything for wrap things up soon? Or?
No, I appreciate him with all the great answers. I think this is kind of an untapped area, one that's probably not a beginner strategy. Like I can't imagine doing this on my first deal, but definitely as you become more advanced or you look for alternatives, I think this would fit great.
So
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely not a beginner strategy at all, but it's a really great strategy for people who are trying to scale maybe their portfolio or maybe build kind of a little bit of an ancillary business on top of their rentals.
So like I said, there is Hunter's YouTube channel. You can connect with him there. If you're in school, you can also reach out to him. But part of your post that I think people may reach out to you or have questions is you brought up, you kind of tell them if it's a bad deal. And maybe some people don't pick that up when maybe if they do want to do this, right, they don't realize there's other things involved. But you mentioned site prep, septic, power, setup, certain things that maybe people aren't aware of when they jump into this space, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of cost that goes into these. When you do it right, they can make money. But I've also done deals myself in this same space where I've lost money on one of them. So you got to be careful. You got to know what you're buying. Yeah, so if people have questions, reach out. My YouTube info is there. Find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well. But yeah, always happy to chat through deals. Obviously, if somebody's looking in South Carolina, happy to be able to deal to them and get you a nice price there on the house that you're looking at. But if people are in other parts of the country, they just want to look at this or even want some hand holding, we do. I don't really throw this out a lot, but my partner and I, we do some kind of coaching and consulting on that as well. If somebody wants to, a little bit more hand holding, if you're going to actually do a deal or two, we can kind of go through that process with you start to finish.
You guys got anything else? I do see Billy Jackson's comment. He says, so he's in California. Average household here is about $60K, but all the starter houses are $375. There's an untapped market if it can work.
Yep, markets all over the country, in my opinion, should really try to adopt, more of these. You see this a lot in the Southeast, but even Midwest, Northeast, West Coast, you can really sell some of these pretty cheaply and make a killing at the same time off of just one deal. I mean, I've seen some folks who are selling these for $350, $375, and they're clearing six figures on one deal. So you can make good money because the cost doesn't really change. Again, outside of your land and your sales price at the end. So as long as you're not overpaying for land, you can make some real good money with this.
So you're building these in Liberty. I was just looking at the map, and that's southwest of Greenville by, I don't know, 10 miles? How many miles?
Yeah, probably so. It's about a 30-minute drive from my office.
So does this strategy work closer to Greenville? Why Liberty versus other nooks and crannies?
Land in Greenville County is extremely expensive. I mean, in particular, across the whole upstate, most landowners think they're sitting on a gold mine or an oil field underneath. They're not. And so, trying to help people understand the realistic value on lands is the biggest thing. So I don't care where it is. I'll buy within a 2-hour radius of my office, basically, which is downtown Greenville. So, if I can get within 2 hours in the state of South Carolina, haven't done Western North Carolina yet, but that's probably the next expansion. It's really just about finding decently priced lots that we think we can sell for a certain sales price. But again, the beauty of this is that this model works in every part of most states across the U.S. There are obviously pockets, like I'm thinking West Coast, in some certain cities and municipalities where you can't get approval for mobile homes. But if you are thinking in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia, or Athens, Georgia, or, Nashville, or, Knoxville, Tennessee, Memphis, even, there's lots of different areas all over the country where you can put a mobile home, make good money, and bring affordability to your marketplace.
Yeah, Gus. So Gus says he met Hunter in his first week of ORAT agent Zoom call. Good dude. Yeah, I met Hunter. Was it last year? No,
probably
2 years ago.
Yeah, appreciate it, Gus. Yeah, good to hear from you, man.
No, it was 2 years ago. I met you, and you came. Yeah, North Carolina. We met up. Was it 2 years ago or 1 year? 2 years, I think. Yeah,
probably closer to 2 years now.
Yeah. And we're trying to get Hunter to come out to Vegas. Coach Carson's going to be there, right?
I do. I know he's going to be there.
Okay, all right. But the real question is, who won in basketball?
Oh, definitely Chad. He is he's a really good basketball player.
Yeah, Greenville is amazing. That's one of the places I would probably consider spending a lot of my retirement time in. So, North Carolina, South Carolina. Isn't Liberty where Trisha's at? Is that where she's at in school? Trisha York.
He's in Florence, which is
Oh,
toward.
Florence.
It's
Okay.
kind of in between Greenville and Myrtle Beach, so she's probably 2.5 hours away.
Yeah, Brady just says really cool stuff, Hunter. I always like to hear about unique strategies in real estate, and you have done a great job building a business. Brady said, I always say there are good markets to build in within about 1 hour, almost anywhere in the country. Hey, Joe V is here. Yeah, that's all I really got for today. You guys got anything else you want to bring up? I know, Joel, are you for sure going to meet up with Hunter in October, or is it still in the works?
The timing is still going to be on. Got to figure that out, but that's what I'm shooting for. I'll probably have it figured out the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
Very cool. Curtis,
Yeah.
anything?
Joel, looking forward to it. I can take you out to some of the active projects so you can see these in person.
Hell yeah. And I've got some camera equipment that I can do on-site stuff myself. So
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Told you, Hunter, this was the most excited I've seen Joel for a live stream. He like actually texted me back. He's like, hell yeah. And then he like actually shared it on social media.
Actually texted, actually shared.
And he actually linked his
Bar's
channel. He
low.
linked his channels ahead of time. Like that's amazing. Like he
Wow.
was so excited for this. But Curtis, anything you want to wrap into? Anything? Any new news? Working you got?
No,
going on?
this is gonna be my last Wednesday one. Next Wednesday, I have to go back to teacher training. So
Oh man, I gotta find a replacement for you now.
yeah, just get Gus on
Wow.
here, man.
Yeah,
Or,
I'm kind of limited on that front. So we'll see what I can put.
Or Denzel.
I'll ask MJ or Denzel, see if they
Yeah.
can jump on it.
Limited because Gus and I will be talking basketball the entire time.
Gus doesn't want to talk basketball, man. Oh, so okay, Hunter. So sounds like you play basketball then. Are you follow basketball?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
Since Gus is here,
Yeah.
MJ or LeBron?
It's definitely got to be
Hey,
MJ.
I don't know if you're okay with saying this though. Well, how old are you though? Because I think age plays a kind of
Well, okay, I'm 27, but I have watched significant highlights of both players, so I'll put it like that. So I've put some time into the film room. So I do think MJ had to probably overcome more in his day. I think LeBron is a top 5 player for sure, maybe second, if not third for sure. But I don't know that I would put him toward the top just because I don't think he. Like, okay, so he's now on the Sixers. I don't know that he's going to have the impact that people think he's going to have. I know he's 20 plus years into his career, and I think the first 5 to 10 years he probably had the most impact of his team when they were playing anybody else. But I don't know. I think there is something to be said for the longer that you play, the more you have the chance to tarnish your legacy. So I do think there's a sense of getting out while you're ahead. But hey, to each their own. So
So I don't know if Gus is putting this emoji for the MJ with LeBron, or I think he's talking about who I'm going to have on next Wednesday. All right, but Hunter, it's always good catching up with you. Like I said, hopefully we'll see you in Vegas.
absolutely.
Joel, Curtis, thanks for always doing this. Curtis, it's been fun having you for the past few weeks, so we'll definitely get you on more often though. But everyone, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see everyone back on Friday with Emily Lopez. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Appreciate it.